Okay.
Hold on. Now we're live because LinkedIn says so. All right. I'm BrentLeary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
I'm Brian Solis.
And he is very happy for some reason. But we are the CRM Playaz.
That's right. Rest of it, we'll get to it.
Yeah, you know.
Maybe.
We got so much to do in this hour.
I know.
This.
Hey, Brent, what do we have to do?
Well, let me tell you. We're going to spend some time. First, you're going to introduce a new segment that we're going to get to a little later on. You still didn't tell me what the name of it is, but
Grapefruit segment. It's the one thing I literally can't eat with dinner. Right?
And on top of that, we're also going to have a special guest come on, Alan Marks from ServiceNow, who's going to, a little serious tone on that one, because he's going to tell us what ServiceNow is doing in response to what's going on with the virus situation, the pandemic. We are also going to talk a little bit about one of the first virtual conferences that took place, in place of what was originally supposed to be a face-to-face conference. And we're going to give you our take on that a little bit. That's the Adobe Summit that happened earlier this week. And we have some CRM Playaz announcements too. And if that weren't enough, maybe there's another piece of information, a piece of news that we might be able to fit in.
Yeah, if we have enough time.
Yeah, it depends. Hey, you want to tell them what we're going to be doing with? I guess you worked out some of the kinks with the what are we calling it? The happy hour something.
That's one of the kinks I haven't worked out, like the name of it, right? I think we got the mechanics down. Anyway, so here's kind of the plan for the happy hour. First, it's going to be Wednesday, starting next Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. We want to make it every other Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. We may occasionally make it consecutive Wednesdays. The game plan will be this. On Monday, you will see an Eventbrite invitation on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere that you can click up to. The first 15 people who respond will be accepted into the happy hour, and they'll get more details later on. If you don't make it in the first 15, but you do respond, we'll be putting you on a waiting list for the next happy hour. If it gets too crazy and we end up having way too many people on waiting lists, so we're just going to start. What will happen is you'll all be wiped clean from that, and we'll compete for 15 slots again. But one way or the other, we're assuming a popularity we probably don't have, right? So
you're making it sound like it's the CRM Playaz Hunger Games or something.
That's right. If it is, we can get at least 3 movies out of it.
Well, actually, yeah, we got 4 out of them, but it probably should have just been 3.
That's right. I was actually making that comment. So. 4th was not a movie. No. Right. So that's kind of the plan. So Monday, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, you'll see and if I happen to write something else on ZDNet, then it'll be associated there too. So be prepared. First 15. If it works, we'll escalate. We'll have more people come in. But right now, we're going to hold it to 15 people. So be ready.
Be ready. Okay. And tomorrow, we're rolling out the very first inaugural CRM Playaz Sports, and we have a kind of a code name for that. You want to give them the code name?
No, you give it. This was yours, man. This is so brilliant.
Yeah, this is such a unique name. I've never heard anything like this before. It just came out of my head, nowhere else.
That's right.
So we are going to call it.
No copyright infringement.
Yeah, no, don't be biting on this one. We're going to call it CRM Playaz. Excuse the interruption.
No,
excuse the intrusion. Excuse the intrusion.
Right. You did put it right into copyright violation.
I think I just blew the cover.
That's right.
Anyway, we're going to be talking sports and CRM with Tony Kornheiser. No, excuse me.
Yeah, that's right.
Hi, I'm Mike Wilbon. No,
I'm Tony Kornheiser.
excuse the intrusion. Anyway.
Yeah, but we're going to trick them. You'll be Tony Kornheiser. I'll be Mike Wilbon, and they'll never guess it.
Yeah, that would be a really big trick. Anyway, so we're going to be starting something we've been talking about for a long time, intermingling sports and our love of sports with CRM. And it should be a lot of fun. We'll have sports figures on. We'll have vendors on. We'll, maybe try to get some fights going, take some bets to see who will win, stuff like that.
Right. We are replacing rotisserie baseball and what's that one draft? What's it called? The Draft Kings.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely no business right now.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever.
Buy all their assets for like $1.
So we're doing the first one tomorrow, right? Tomorrow at 3 East time. And who's our guest?
Well, so we have tomorrow an interesting one. It's actually not a person in sports.
Of course not. After that big build-up, yeah.
Right. It's actually a regional vice president at Salesforce named Jay Pettigrew, whose job is kind of to discover kind of new business areas, and he's been focusing recently on pro sports primarily. And in the course, because of the crisis, what's happened is, all the kids in Detroit in particular were sent home to work from home and do virtual school. But it turns out that 60% of the kids in Detroit who were sent home don't have computers or internet connectivity. So this is actually, he's developed a nonprofit tied to the teams and a lot of teams in the Detroit area and beyond that will actually try to get the hardware, software, and the connectivity for these kids so that they can continue their educations from home. So because that's of immediate urgency, we're making him our first guest. Our second, next week, our guest will be the CEO and new CMO of the Professional Collegiate League. You've seen them on the show. Well, you've seen one of them on the show, Ricky Volante, before. But this is the CMO. Well, I'm not going to say anything about him now, but he has a great history, and you'll hear more about that next week.
Very good. So we are definitely going to be asking you to excuse the intrusion.
That's right.
Got it right. Okay.
And I'm sure as time goes on, those 30 seconds and go things we do will not be confused with anything else.
Yeah, we'll try not to. At least we didn't call it like last take or something like that. Right. Okay, so let's start getting into some of the big news of the week. We're going to go with Adobe right now. We're going to do that first. We got so much big news, just full of big news. So anyway, we all know, and pretty much everybody else out there knows, we typically would be at a physical event right now somewhere, whether it be Vegas or San Francisco or where Brian's concerned, like Switzerland,
or Dubai.
Yeah, Dubai,
Antarctica. I think you did a gig in Antarctica, didn't you? Like it was 2,000 penguins in the audience.
It was incredible. I even wore a penguin suit.
Well, your empathy.
All right. So in place of all the canceled physical events, you're starting to see some of the virtual events that were going to be in the place of the physical events. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about, we hope that the vendors take a little time to actually make sure that the experience, they utilize all that could be in place of the physical events with some of the things that the digital tools have to offer. So the first one up that we were both looking forward to checking out was Adobe Summit. They did it this week. It was a series of pre-recorded sessions and keynotes. So, Mr. Greenberg, what was your impression?
Well, okay, so ultimately disappointed, to be honest. Look, here's the thing. You made a very good point about when we did talk about this last time, which is just because it was supposed to occur this week doesn't mean that the virtual event has to occur at the same time. And consequently, you take the time, you build kind of the new event, new kind of event that you're building, and make it right and then do it. Well, Adobe, unfortunately, stuck to the timeline, and it showed. I mean, there was a couple of good sessions where the analyst-only interactive sessions were actually good, and the quality of the information that Suresh and Amit and a few others released was important. Was valuable. They're doing these these CXM playbooks now, and they're putting out the Adobe Digital Index, and they're doing a number of Digital Experience Index, and they're doing a number of other. They have another number of other product initiatives that are actually quite valuable and useful, but the format was literally awful. When it came to the keynotes were everybody, including Shantanu, standing at home, being very uncomfortable and talking, and we were all on mute, and there was no interaction really. And to be honest, it showed. Look, for the first time, I thought Shantanu's speech, he's normally great on stage. I mean, he's personable, he's warm, he's always thinking, he thinks as a thought leader. That's the norm. In this, he was basically a giant walking ad for Adobe collateral. It was a collateral for Adobe. He was talking about Adobe does this great, and Adobe is that great. Who cares, right? That's not what we know what Adobe does and doesn't do, and we all will make our decisions on whether we think it's great or not. Typically we think it's pretty close to great, but the reality is that he was just an ad, and it was you could see he was uncomfortable, as was everybody doing keynotes. So, the format did not work at all, and they really need to. And the other thing is they had like thousands of other sessions, and it was interesting. There was a note that was put out, a tweet that was put out by I can't remember who it was done. It's whoever's going to speak with Ray, doing a webinar that was originally a live one, and Adobe did no promotion of the tracks with thought leaders in them, right? None. It was basically just internal self-promotion, which at a conference they normally don't do that. They're always pushing some of the better sessions, and they're emphasizing things they want you to join and so on. This, nobody knew any. Why not do a simple thing? Hundreds of people signed up prior to the conference. Send them a note saying, this is how we're going to do the webinar we're going to do that you did. Apparently, now I don't know this. I know this only from the way the tweet was structured. They didn't do that. They had hundreds of people for Ray, and I apologize to the woman who's was Ray's co-host or co-presenter, but they didn't send him any notification of what it sounded like. So Brian, let me ask you a question. So, by the way, guys, we have about 1 minute till Alan comes on. So what we can do is when he comes on, we can pick this up right after, before I get into the velocity side. Okay, so Brian, start thinking about this. You don't have to answer it yet. And Brent, you start thinking too. How would you design a virtual conference? What would be different about it than just simply a transfer for a live conference? Keep it in mind, because as I said, we probably got 30 seconds now. So it's better we wait.
Well, let's let Brian get into it, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Go start, and then
okay,
we'll see.
ready, go. I think we talked about this before, in that this is an opportunity for a new type of experience. I mean, first, from a logistical standpoint, the timing for sure should have been reconsidered, because it's an opportunity to get this right. All eyes are on you, and it's not just your customers, which are hugely important, but also your employees and your competitors are watching. And this, Adobe's in the experience business. We're all in the experience business, really, but we have an opportunity here to reimagine what that experience could be on the other side of the screen. So, for example, Brent, when before we started this episode, you sent out an email that kind of gave us some boxes to check, to think about ahead of time. I watched several this week. A friend of mine produces a series now. They've had to go from live events to virtual events at Brand Innovators, and I put together a playbook almost for them, just because he's a friend of mine, of things that the presenters have to think about before they even prepare their presentation. Things like, for example, if you're going to use a laptop, prop it up so we're not looking up your nose. I mean, things as simple as that. Lighting.
Hey, Brian, I know you're on a roll, but
Okay.
I know we have a limited amount of time with our guest, so I'm going to bring him in, and then we'll pick back up after we have a conversation with Alan Marks from ServiceNow. Alan, thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Hi, Brent. Hi, Paul. Brian. Is
Hello,
my camera
Alan.
angle? Is my camera angle okay?
You look
Yeah,
great.
we're not
The
looking right
lighting
up
is
your
amazing.
nose.
We like
I'm a little self-conscious now.
Well, your couch provides a really innovative background, so we're good.
All right. Okay.
It
All
really
right.
looks comfortable too.
The afternoon nap, right?
Love
So,
it.
Alan, we got a little bit of background on you, so we want to make sure we get it right. You are the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for ServiceNow. Looks like you've been there for quite a while, and actually, it sounds like this is a new title for you as of like last month. So, congratulations!
Yeah.
That's true. Thank you. I've been there about 3 years. Came in to run communications and brand, and about a month ago took over the marketing organization as well. So,
Congrats,
great to be with you
man.
today. Thank you. Thank
Right
you.
man for the job.
All right.
So it's kind of hard to escape what's going on with the coronavirus situation and how people's lives are being impacted from a variety of perspectives. And we've had a running conversation with this show, really wanting to highlight the good that a lot of the vendors in the industry are doing to answer the call and to really go beyond, the call to do as much as they can. So we wanted to, just kind of have you come on and talk about what ServiceNow is doing in this time of need.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. As you said, it is an unprecedented environment that we're all working through day by day. And for us at ServiceNow, first and foremost, it's protecting our employees and ensuring the health and safety of our employees and then our customers. And so in mid-March, we transitioned to a work from home environment. We have about 10,000 employees worldwide. We are all working from home now. And that's been an incredible digital transition. And I think it speaks to the agility of digital cloud-based companies and our ability to have 10,000 people all over the world move to a work from home environment and keep the job going, keep getting business done. And so that's been an extraordinary experience over the past few weeks in our company. So a lot of effort to make sure employees are safe and protected, and where there are issues that we can help address those issues. And then we turned our attention to, well, how can we help our customers in this environment? We as a company, we have about 6,200 enterprise customers. We serve 80% of the Fortune 500. And so as we were transitioning to work from home environment, we realized in Washington State, the Washington State Department of Health was a ServiceNow customer. As the virus started to become an issue in Washington State, they realized that they had a lot of manual processes in place. And that if they were going to respond to this crisis, they needed to digitize some of their workflows to be able to respond more effectively for the people of Washington State. So their team, using our platform, using the Now platform, their team stood up an emergency response operations app on the Now platform in 3 weeks. And that helped them better manage and better organize the logistics, the people. Think of all the workflows required to do emergency response management in a situation like that. And so as a customer, we learned about this, and we learned of it at the same time our own teams were creating emergency apps for our own company, first and foremost, but also with an eye toward how we can help customers. And we were getting requests from other customers about how they could use the Now platform to operate in this environment. And so working with Jennifer McNamara, the CIO of Washington State Department of Health, she said, I would love to partner with you to provide this emergency response operations app that we developed at Washington State, make it available to any public agency. A lot of need here. And so we said, great, we'll partner with you. We took that app, we ran it through our quality control process to make sure that it would stand up for any organization on our platform. And then we rolled out the 3 apps that our own team had been developing. And these were emergency self-reporting, emergency exposure management, and these are employee-focused apps. So think you've got a global employee population. You have somebody who's been exposed to the virus or somebody who is confirmed to have the virus. You need to know that. You need to know where they are, and you need to know who they've been exposed to. And that's what these other apps help organizations do. And so we took these 4 apps together and we launched them as a COVID emergency response package to all of our customers worldwide, public agencies and private sector customers. And we made them free through September to run on our platform to help customers get through this period. And the response has been extraordinary. Within the first week, we had over 1,000 organizations worldwide download these apps. And we've got the city of San Francisco deploying these apps. We've got private customers around the world deploying these apps, and we've got other public agencies deploying these apps. So it's been an extraordinary response, and obviously we're continuing to roll that out and continuing to provide customer support and how you can use these applications and use our platform to coordinate all of the workflows and the complex logistics required to manage the situation on a worldwide basis, all with an eye toward how can we help you protect the health and safety of your employees, and how can we help you manage the services that your customers need during this time period.
You know, I was just taking a look at the figures for today for Washington State, and they're like eight new cases. That's it. And and meaning their curve is they're at the end of this, you know, for now anyway. But
yeah, let's hope.
Yeah. Well, the thing is though that I think you can legitimately say you played a part in that decline. That's a fairly rapid decline. I mean, and you know, let's say this. You know, you can make, I think, a reasonable case anyway that if the processes remain manual, they couldn't have responded at the level they responded to get that kind of effort into place that led to the decline. So you guys should be extremely proud of yourselves. And from that standpoint alone, you know, that's a huge achievement and hopeful too. I mean, so let me ask you this, and this is somewhat of a different kind of question, but so you're both chief marketing and chief communications. Obviously, you're responsible for not only marketing, but outreach, all the outreach, right? PR, AR, blah, blah, all works, right? And how do you respond in this? You know, because you still have to run the company, you still have to sell to customers. We're all home. You know, production isn't going on at the places but it's going on. I mean, the tech industry is a little lucky in that regard. But how do you look at what you have to do now, with one caveat or one qualifier I want to throw in, knowing that what you do now is going to impact the rest of the life of this company once this thing winds down?
Well, it's a great question, and that's a question that everybody's grappling with in their own companies, right? And as I said in the beginning, 2 things I think about every day: our employees. Are we helping them be productive? Are we taking care of them? Obviously, work from home is stressful if you've got childcare issues, if you've got elder care issues, 2 spouses working from home, or you may have a partner or spouse whose own work has been disrupted in this. So we're dealing with all that to make sure our employees come through this feeling supported and feeling that they can be productive and that they can take care of their families during this period. And obviously, as you mentioned, in the tech industry, you know, we're very grateful that we're in an industry where we can keep working and we can protect the jobs, not only of our full-time employees, but we're also protecting the pay of our support workers. As we shut down our offices, we continue to pay all of our support workers and contract workers during this period as well. So we're very grateful to be a company in that kind of position to be able to do that. And then on the customer side, you know, we've always been a company that really listens to our customers and understands their needs. And what we're seeing in this period, which you touched on, which I also think the Washington State example demonstrates, for companies that are farther along on their digital transformation, they're the companies that are able to adapt faster, be more agile, be able to manage this transition more smoothly than other companies. I saw a reference yesterday, Fortune, they were talking to 40 CEOs about this situation and what are the lessons that are emerging from this situation. And the top item that they reported on that these CEOs were saying is that for companies who are not pursuing digital transformation, who are not as far along in digital transformation as other companies, they're now feeling, quote unquote, a burning platform in their companies. Because trying to manage this situation when you don't have good workflows, when you don't have the systems in place, when your employees can't work effectively from any location, it just becomes that much more complicated. So what I'm doing every day with other teams across the company is leaning in with our customers. What do you need? What's your situation? Let's help you understand how you can leverage, if you're already a customer, how you can fully leverage the Now platform to digitize those workflows. We think more broadly, anything's a workflow, right? And any great experience, any process has a workflow behind it. And a situation like this, a crisis situation, really amplifies that. And that's what Washington State understood from the beginning, that crisis management is a workflow problem. And the better I'm managing my workflow, the better I can deliver services. And companies are now seeing that at scale, whether it's how do I manage employee situations, whether I'm having to furlough people or lay people off, or whether I'm hiring people. How do I manage all that onboarding and offboarding? How do I manage all those employee situations? Those are essentially problems of workflow. How do I serve my customers? How do I maintain customer loyalty? How do I manage my supply chain? How do I monitor my global footprint as a company? Those are all essentially workflow issues at their core. And so I think what we're going to see long term is companies are going to understand that to be competitive, to be successful long term in the 21st century, having those digital platforms in place, having those secure cloud partners in place for business continuity is going to be critical. So I think long term, right now, it's let's make sure we're managing the day to day. Let's make sure our employees are okay, and let's do everything we can to mitigate the impact to our company and our customers. Long term, I think you're going to see an inflection point here of an acceleration of companies moving to digital transformation.
Yeah, and I will tell you, my brother has been in the emergency management first response world he's actually considered a leading thinker in it for 25 years maybe. And so I have a peripheral relationship to it. And I know a lot of people he knows because we're all friends, right? So
Yeah.
I understand it. And what struck me very quickly about the apps you released was, if you look at a classic emergency management situation, which this is at a scale that's unprecedented, but it isn't different than a typical flow of one, meaning the scale that makes it atypical, but the flows are still the flows, right? And meaning you have to be able to coordinate this, you have to have these people here, you have to be able to get that, right? And you have to do this quickly, right? And your release of your releases, that's what struck me, because I've written about it now 2 or 3 times also, is that they were built for exactly that. And you're, as a company, look, I've worked with you guys for, 3-4 years now, and so I've seen what you have, and it's just off the charts amazing what you're capable of doing. And it didn't strike me unusual that you would build those, because they're right in the heart of your sweet spot to build. And you did it quickly.
I think your point is great insight about scale, because when you're dealing with a smaller issue, you can manage the manual workflows. You can manage the friction in that process. But I think it's great insight that the scale of this thing, and that's what Washington State realized, I can't do it. I can't manage manual workflows at that scale and be effective in responding to my customers' needs or my constituents' needs.
And one other factor that goes into that, which again, it caught my eye that you can manage this. It's not just the scale per se, but it's the acceleration of the scale, right? And that's the other side. It's the rate of acceleration is unknown. It's not that it's huge. We know it's fast, but we never know what it's going to be, right? So it's not measurable easily. So you guys are built for the acceleration too, which is the other thing I noticed when I was reviewing the actual apps, which is your immense credit. And it's why you're the first guest that we brought on to talk about these too, right?
Oh, well, thank you.
Really have done some of this work.
Alan, do you have a hard stop at the bottom of the hour?
I don't. I've got a little extra time.
Okay, just want to make sure about that. So you were, working with the state of Washington, who are on the front edge of this. I'm in the state of Georgia, who we're just starting to see it just bubble up. If the state of Georgia were to reach out to you and said, "Hey, we saw what you did in Washington. How can you help us? What time frame could we see something from you to help us manage what's going on?" what would that be? How would that look?
Well, absolutely, they can reach out to us, and depending, if you've already got the Now platform, as we're demonstrating, as Washington State demonstrated, it's days. But we can also stand up these applications for non-customers, and we can do that quickly as well. We just did some work with the city of Los Angeles. You may have seen some tweets this week as they stood up a platform for testing, for COVID testing in LA. That Shaq and Kim Kardashian and other celebrities were tweeting this week. That stood up on the Now platform, and we did that in several days. And so the speed at which we can move with standing up the platform, standing up an instance of ServiceNow, and putting these apps on top of that can happen very fast. And that's back to your scale point and how quickly our platform can respond to these things and then handle workflow at scale.
Wasn't one of your customers, this is your regular customers, was Tennessee, right?
Tennessee. So
yeah.
they've used our platform, are using our platform for a broader set of emergency response applications. And that's part of what we're seeing. Part of the conversations we've had with Washington State is they don't see this as just a short-term thing now. Now that they're getting this experience, they understand they can use this long-term now for all of their emergency response operations. And that's what the state of Tennessee is doing, applying that to things like food assistance and other social service programs. Again, everything's a workflow, right?
Yeah.
And how do you manage that real time at scale? That's what LA did. It's the testing process. How do I sign up and get tested? Those are workflow problems. And that's what we're showing that we can manage. The Now platform can manage at scale and manage in a fairly easy, agile way. So we're also doing a lot of work with the federal government. A lot of federal agencies are ServiceNow customers. We're having conversations with the federal government about how we can help them scale in their responses. And we're encouraging to your question about Georgia, certainly any state agency, please reach out to us and we'll find a way to help in this time frame.
Alan, we appreciate you coming on. This has been great. In order for folks to reach out, where should they go? What should they contact? Who should they contact?
Well, I think they can get two things. Full information is on our website, so servicenow.com, if you want full information about what we're doing. And they could reach out to me, Alan, ALAN, .Marks, MARKS, @servicenow.com.
We really appreciate you taking a few minutes. I know you're in the midst of a busy day, but we appreciate it. And thanks again for what you and ServiceNow are doing, because every little bit helps, and that's more than a little bit. You guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Great
Alan.
to be here. Thanks. Stay healthy.
You too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Back up.
Yeah. Wow, that's really good. I'm glad we were able to fit that one in there, because they're doing some really cool stuff, and in the speed that they're doing it. Good example of what should be going on.
When I was putting together the post that went up today, I was examining all the different tech companies, and I only put up in 5 or 6 total, but I looked at probably 30 or 40, and all of them are doing something. But the interesting thing, consistently, because we've seen this for a while now, but ServiceNow has stood out every single time I started investigating as not just like standing up what they were doing the fastest, but stood out as one of the smarter responses and less obvious responses, right? Too. I mean, a mission critical response that is nuts and bolts, not sexy, right? It's nuts and bolts. Other companies are doing great work. Don't get me wrong. Salesforce, Microsoft, they're all doing great work, but this one in particular has, and the other one who's doing really well in this area is SAP. SAP is focused in on logistics and the supply chain,
which is incredibly important right now.
That's the thing. I mean, you have the things we're forgetting, because we're mostly looking at the more human emotional elements of this, right? But there are certain things that if they don't happen, there's going to be a lot worse tragedy stories than there would be if they do happen. And the two companies that have gone nuts and bolts on this have been ServiceNow and SAP, which is, and again, that is not by us in the slightest denigrating the work that other companies are doing. They're all doing great work, but those two in particular stood out for the back end work that they're doing. And ServiceNow is just really impressive.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to get back to, Brian, add your thoughts to that and then go into that, what we put you on hold for around this time stuff too.
Yeah, I do. I want to back up because I do want to call attention, Paul, to that great article that you just published. It's on ZDNet, and it is the premise of it. I thought was really wonderful in that, because the news. I think you set this up in your Facebook post as well. The news is not the brightest for the most part. What was that old journalism mantra? If it bleeds, it leads, and I think that now more than ever, we need more positivity. We need some more hope. We need some light at the end of the tunnel and voices around that. And I really appreciated your ZDNet article because it was built upon that premise. There were things in there that I hadn't even heard. For example, I can't remember who it is that is so competent that they have not a cure, but
Abbott Labs.
Yeah. Okay. Right. They're so confident that it's going to get FDA approval that they're building the mechanisms now, the manufacturing prowess and capabilities now to scale that right away. I thought that was incredible to read that story.
No, I'm sorry, Johnson and Johnson.
Johnson and Johnson. All right. Okay. And that you have a whole list of all of the companies that you felt were doing really great things as a resource center. So if you're a business, if you're an organization, if you're a government agency, take a look at this because it's a short list of tools that will help you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, it's just ultimately, look, the irony is the 7.5 billion people on this planet. We've been through lots of crises over the eons we've been in this planet. Yet here we are. We're still here. We're still growing as a species, and we're still advancing and evolving as a species. Meaning, progress in the biggest picture, as frightening as it may get at any given moment, progress has always won out, right? Always. The human species has always won that fight. Now, does that guarantee victory? No, but let's say this: the odds are really good. And look at this. I mean. One other thing I just happened to see this morning is this has been, I don't remember even where I saw it, but this has been the largest and fastest global cooperative effort in the history of mankind to deal with this. I mean, it literally said that, right? And they outlined all kinds of the global cooperation going on among medical agencies and companies and so on and so forth. And despite all the crap that's going on here and there, ultimately, humanity is working together with all the glitches that happens when you got 7.5 billion people and disparate ideologies and so on. With all the glitches, humanity is working together to solve this, and thus probably will. And even the most pessimistic people are still saying, "Look, it's going to be about 1.5 years before we really have a vaccine that we can use on everybody." I mean, think about that. As pessimistic as they are. They're not pessimistic. Matter of fact, we're going to develop a vaccine that's going to beat it, right? That's going to stop it from and just make it part of another one of the communicable diseases that exist, right? That's saying a lot about the ultimate human spirit, right? Which is, yeah, okay, we think everybody in the universe is in trouble here, but in 1.5 years, that we'll be done with that part, right? And we'll have beaten it. That's what I'm saying. Even in the darkest moment, there's a glimmer of hope always. And just because we have proof positive over history that we solve those things, it's proof. There's so many. Look, Spanish flu killed 15 million people in a world of a lot less than 7.5 billion, right? And here we are, right? We're fighting another one, but that was the last one, right? But we're fighting another one, but we're better prepared even now to fight than they were, right? So. And nobody is predicting 15 million. Nobody. 50 million, nobody. Right? So, take measures, do what they tell you, let people have time to be, creative, and you got it.
All right. We got 5 minutes to do your news segment because we have to.
This is actually the shortest segment.
It's going to be.
It's on velocity, right? And velocity is acquired. So most of the problems they actually had are taken care of. Literally.
I thought you meant because it's on velocity, it's not going to take you very long to talk.
That's right. I'm moving at their speed. Look, okay, so the basic idea of this segment is simple. Why they want a watch list. Okay, and partly it's because I'm lazy about writing this, right? So it's easy to say it. So, well, not actually partly, mostly. So here's the deal. Reason we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order. So Zoho technically should be first, but the reason we're doing velocity is because it was acquired not very long ago, or it's being finished now by Salesforce. The acquisition was announced. So velocity, for those of you who don't know, is built on the Salesforce platform, and it basically is multiple vertical industries. It's a very different model than Viva, which is a single vertical built on the Salesforce platform. Velocity won the watch list and has won it more, I think, 3 times in total because of the platform that they have, because of something I haven't told anybody because I refuse to deal with it, because of the level of and skill set of the management team they have, and because of the fact that they do most things pretty well. They don't do everything. The platform is spectacular. It's actually equal to, at least, and even could be a little better, although I don't want to say that because that's not fair, to Salesforce's actual vertical platform, right? Velocity's platform allows they have, I think, 7 or 8 verticals now. They allow for infinite number of verticals on the platform. They take into account all the things that individual vertical companies that individual verticals would need to implement. They build the templates right. They have the tools to actually customize to the vertical. There is no question of the quality of the platform. The other thing I want to emphasize on why they won, and this is one of the few cases where this happens, is I'm reluctant, and if you read the post, I'm reluctant to talk about the management team and who's the best, right? Because it's kind of personal, I mean, that means everybody else in the management team who reads this is thinking, well, then we're not the best, right? And I'm going to make a lot of enemies, right? Most of whom are already my friends. But in this case, I'm going to talk about it. This is the single best when it comes to, let's call it density, because it's not necessarily the world's biggest, but it comes to density of experience, of quality, of proven track record, of skill set, of intelligence, and just very nice people. This is the team that won the best management team. And it was led by a guy who has been wildly successful for everything he's ever done, David Schmier, right? David started at Siebel, was kind of, and you can argue this, I suppose, but was really the number 2 guy at Siebel, the right hand of Tom Siebel, and really drove the company the way it needed to be driven to build Siebel. David is also has remained over all these years an industry force, right? And has been remarkable in terms of everything he touches ends up gold. Part of it is his incredible acuity when he at signing the leaders he signed, and I'm not going to go through everybody just because it's 5 minutes, right? I have 1 minute really that's left, but he is also a personality that people really take to. So consequently, he has the acuity to talk. I think, I'm not joking. If I'm looking at the average amount of experience these guys have, it probably averages to 25 to 30 years. This is a team that knows the enterprise inside and out. And they know a lot of them started at what used to be called Verticals on Demand, which is now Viva, and so they have vertical experience on the Salesforce platform already. Now, so these guys, on the strength of that alone, probably could have won, but they had other things they do well. Well, no, let me rephrase it. Every other thing they do reasonably well. There's nothing else that they're superstars at, really. Nothing other than the platform and the management team. The rest of it is good, solid as a rock at every level. They will, for example, one of the things I do, 3 things that they should look for. I can't do that with these guys because the 3 things they should look for got taken care of when they got acquired by Salesforce, all 3 of them. I'll tell you one, for example, and this is a good example. Their AR, not that good. It's Gartner, Forrester focused. That's about it. They interact occasionally with people like me and others who are independents, and but it's occasional. And I've known a lot of them for many years, so it's half personal when they're interacting with me. So they don't do a very good job at AR, but they've just got picked up by the best AR team or the best market strategy team, the best in the entire industry, right? So that problem solved, right? And it goes on like that. Where they're weak, Salesforce isn't, right? They're very strong. Mission vision. Mission vision is average to decent. It's not wrong, not inspiring particular as a vision. Salesforce manages to handle inspirational vision real well, right? So these are not things they have to worry about anymore, which is amazing because that means Salesforce gets to solve their weaknesses while inheriting their strengths. Now, I don't know what the state of the management team is when it makes the rollover finally into Salesforce. My recommendation to Salesforce big time is find a place for literally everybody mentioned in the watch list. And I am not kidding you, right? If you want to know who that is, call me, right? I'll tell you. I'll give you the names of every single one of them in the watch list who you should retain because this is an unparalleled management team. So I'll leave it at that. I'm actually a minute over, so I've kept my record intact of never being on time. All right.
But you did it fast. You did good. You used a lot of velocity in this one, so we will.
Viva la velocity.
Well, and it's kind of ironic that velocity was the first one of the watch list winners that you talked about, and that they were acquired by Salesforce because, well, Salesforce just made another really big acquisition. If you look at it a certain way, it's not a company, but it is a player.
Yeah, and let's put it this way: without telling you, it's not me, it's not Brent.
Yeah, that's a big hint. So we have to say we've only had one Playa-in-Residence over the 12 years we've been doing this at this point.
Yeah.
And so that one Playa-in-Residence is who you see over there, Brian Solis. And I guess we should be considering this as his graduation ceremony. Because it's funny. If you weren't on Twitter, then you don't know this. But if you were on Twitter last night, I forget exactly what time it was, but because both you and I were tagged in the announcement, it's been like nonstop. I've been getting notifications since like 7 or 8 o'clock last night, and it's all about Mr. Solis graduating from Playa-in-Residence to global innovative evangelist or innovation evangelist for Salesforce. So the acquisition of velocity just wasn't enough for this show. No. Salesforce. Brian Solis, congratulations for the brand new position, Salesforce Global Innovation Evangelist.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow. I mean, I'm pretty much speechless. It's been a real big, a real wonderful opportunity, and you've all been so helpful to me, and just being on the show has been a real learning experience. And you have to forgive me because I put the cap and gown in the wash, and I never got it to the dryer, and so I couldn't wear it to my graduation ceremony. But it's immense. This is the industry itself. Even though it's big, it's really small. And I'm joining John Taschek's team, who's on the show.
You're joining
what? Look at that!
Did that just happen?
Talk about perfect timing.
That was by far the best timing ever.
He said the man's name, and he just shows up. I mean, that's pretty good.
Do that.
I knew the guy was magic, but I'm even more impressed now.
That was amazing.
I better say who this is. Of course, it's John Taschek. It's actually Brian's new boss, SVP of Market Strategy for Salesforce. Thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me on for the last 10 minutes and that wonderful introduction. The only thing you got wrong is boss. Like, don't tell my boss, but I don't believe in bosses. So,
No.
So it's hard to break into your what you were saying there, Brian. But the guy who's not your boss wanted to join in. So.
Oh my gosh, that was if you could make a highlight reel as a gift.
That was perfect.
That was so good. That was so good.
Next 8 minutes, let's just talk about the timing of the whole thing.
It was a real big covert ops.
Oh man, that what a great surprise. Well, yeah, I was just about to say that it to be part of the Ohana, it couldn't be truer. That joining a team of friends and peers and people that you admire, brings the best out of you. And at this stage of my career, there was no other place that I would have considered. And this is as you said, Paul, this is the best team in the business.
Yes.
And it's a real honor to join the group.
So, John, what was to the extent you're okay, you can talk about some of this. What was your thinking on this to begin with? I know you know Brian for like ever, but how did this happen pretty quick? It may not have, let's say reasonably quick, given how much anyone knows. But
I guess these two would know. But
well, when did you start to think about this?
Well, Paul, Brent, Brian, you know that I'm the slowest thinker in the business. So the idea actually was from a long time ago, maybe about a year ago at CRM Evolution, when we were talking, and it was pretty late at night. And I had this, a little bit of an epiphany, like, if we are going to be influential and we want to do the right thing for our customers and our Ohana, the extended Ohana, we can't be just talking about Salesforce all the time. We have to be talking about real human things. And there I was sitting with you and Brian, and then you left, and it was just Brian and me. And we were doing exactly that, just talking about family, talking about, it was, the issues that we have, children. It was like everything but technology. And I said, this is the kind of guy we want. All right. So fast forward, or very slow forward, a year later. And I was talking to Vala Offshore. Of course, everyone knows Vala. And Vala said, this would be kind of a groundbreaking moment for us on our team and for Salesforce if Brian joined our team. And I already agreed with him. And it's just, we're blessed. It's amazing that we could get somebody like Brian on our team to do exactly what he's been doing in the past, and to just make the world a better place in a different way.
Let me ask a quick question. Now, you had a chance to kind of bond over Evolution a year ago. A lot of time passes by between a year ago. So, but then something else happened. Now, in between you talking last year and the news right now, Brian did become a Playa-in-Residence with the CRM Playaz. And I'm just, curious as to what role did that have in you finalizing this in your mind that you needed to bring him on board?
Let me just add an adjective. What decisive role did that have?
Well, as everyone on my team also knows, I never give gratitude. And so I can't possibly say thank you to the two of you for bringing Brian on. But it was 100% the reason. I was just really hoping that we'd get a 666 next to Brian's name.
Don't worry, I'm sure it'll happen.
It still might come. You just never know.
Probably disappointed the episode.
Exactly. No, definitely. Yeah. The Playaz is just a great. It's so fun. You make the industry fun. The industry used to be fun in the '90s for me. and it was, we make it fun. We make it fun, but it's truly fun with you guys. It's just so it's casual and insightful, and I just love it.
Wasn't
So is
fun
there
enough
any
for us to
rumors?
keep. Well, think of it this way, though. It wasn't fun enough for us to keep Brian.
Oh, yeah, he
Lost the guy. I mean,
graduated.
he was a 6 month. We had a 6 month Playa-in-Residence, and then Brent and I had already talked about extending him to a year, right? And then we were talking about possibly bringing him on as the third player. All over now.
Yeah, because he did graduate magna cum laude, so that's
Wait, so now he can't be one? It's just too much of a conflict of interest, or
monetizing. Let's put it this way: the players are going to be a part of it. Is going to be monetized. We're going to have a monetized piece, like we've done with other. But we can't exactly have a Salesforce Playaz host and get monetized, like get people from Oracle or SAP or Microsoft.
But let me ask you, because there were some rumors going on that now that you made this big move here, bringing Brian on board, that there was a rumor that I heard that you were looking to potentially acquire the CRM Playaz. Is there any truth to that at all?
As you know, we can't comment on any mergers, acquisitions, or future plans.
Think of it this way.
Are you for sale?
Think of it this way: 6x revenue means you're buying us for nothing.
Not 666x revenue, but yeah.
That's right, 666.
All right. So no, this has been great. And I mean, I tweeted out, I thought it was a great move. And I really think you're lucky and happy to get him, as well as him going with you guys. So I look forward to seeing what you do together here. I think it'll be great.
You know what? Honestly, you've always had the best team. I've said that publicly a million times. I said it before you even came on. When I was talking about velocity, one of their weaknesses was AR. I said, well, they don't have that weakness anymore, right? Right? It's gone, right? Somehow, with the best team, you've made it even better. I mean, that's amazing to me. And congratulations for that, too. I mean, it's genuinely remarkable.
Yeah, and as you know, we don't really call it AR.
No, it's market strategy.
Yeah, we don't want to call influence. We don't want to call market strategy AR. We want to.
But buddies, hold on, I'm going to hang up on this. This is Spam Vienna. That's what it says.
I thought it might have been another vendor seeing if they wanted to buy us.
That's right. We're starting a bidding war
In real time.
Well, look, I mean, you guys, look, one of the things you did with the team, and it's why, again, perfect, is you've allowed people to express who they actually are as people and develop friendships, and with the analysts, with the influencers, with all the, whatever categories they're in. You've never said the word, you have to keep it professional, which is a thing of be cold. Right, it's basically a way of saying be cold and be have a cadence, but be cold. Right, you've never ever done that, and that to me is what makes you the best team. Is you haven't done that, and you've gone the other way, which is say you're in life here, and you're going to develop friendships. So feel free, don't worry about it. Just do it. Just do your job, but your friends. If you end up marrying someone, marry someone. Like, it doesn't matter. I mean, life's life here. So, and you're literally the only person I've ever met who, in the position you're in, who's actually willing to actually make that the core of his team. I've never seen anything like that, and I'm saying that with a lot of knowledge. Right? So, that alone. And Brian is one of them. Aside from being the thought leader off the charts, he's always been. Is also just such a good person. I'm glad he's not in the room to hear this.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything that you just said. So
put him on mute. Oh, wait a minute.
We have to put all our cells on mute.
That's right. So anyway, congrats, guys. Brian, though, we are going to miss you. It doesn't mean you won't be on the show, but you'll be on the show as a Salesforce person.
You'll always be the first, though. The first.
Yeah, you will be the first. You are the gold standard by which all Playa-in-Residence must meet. And we don't even know if we can find a second one. We don't. We really don't.
I think we have some people that are volunteering.
Yeah, we do actually. We have 1 or 2 volunteer. Well, actually, we not yet. We have 1.
No, there's definitely one that's in the comment section.
Oh, really? I can't see that. Oh, okay. All right, but nobody can replace you.
Thanks.
All right, before we all start crying in here, I think we better wrap this one up. Brian, any last words as a play-in-residence?
This has been so much fun, and I know that I'll have an opportunity. I hope to come back as a guest. But I thank you not just for the opportunity to be on the show as a play-in-residence, but just for your friendship and just thank you.
Well, that doesn't go away whether you're a player-in-residence or not.
Yeah, I mean, look, we still keep Esteban in as one of the horsemen. So
that's right. You want to see the 4th horseman.
Once a player-in-residence, always a player. Well, player at that point.
Right, always a player.
All right. So I guess for the last time, I'm BrentLeary.
I'm Paul Greenberg. Brian.
I'm Brian Solis.
I'm John Taschek.
Yes. He's the new player-in-residence.
We are the CRM Playaz. We'll see you tomorrow for Excuse the Intrusion.
That's right. That's right. 3 p.m.
3 p.m. East Coast.
Yes. East Coast time tomorrow.
And another Salesforce guy, too.
Yeah, Jay Pettigrew tomorrow for Salesforce.
Yeah, people are going to start talking. All right.
All right.